Hey everyone, so it's time to do probably my most requested video ever, and this is my favorite summer decks 2020 edition. I This list might be kind of boring for some of you because there really aren't any new decks on this list. I'm just at a point in my level of collecting, but also just in on my journey where the decks that I have, I'm really happy with. So it's got to be something that's a big deal for me to make a choice to purchase a new deck. And also, I really do believe in actually using our decks, and so I want to make sure that I'm using the ones that I do have in my collection. That feels really good for me. But it's already Halloween in my book, guys. I'm just going to be really upfront with you and say that most of these decks are darker themes. Um, it's just where I am, and those are the decks that I want to play with. Also, there is some nudity. I'm going to show two decks that do have nudity, so if that's something that's uncomfortable for you, just want to give you a heads up now. Sometimes I forget to say that, so I wanted to make sure I said that first. It's definitely a time of great, I'm going to use the word change that we're all seeing that's happening societally at a planetary level. And it definitely feels at times very scary, often intense. And if you're finding that you're dealing with more anxiety as you're moving through the summer months, please know that you're not alone and that you are loved by the divine, by the universe, whatever you want to call that energy. And, working with deity or with those divine aspects of ourselves can really help us to feel that we're not alone, and that we're supported on our journey as well. So if you're feeling called to do that, definitely allow yourself that privilege. With that being said, I'm going to talk about the Isis Oracle because that is my prime deity, and I have definitely been feeling such a sense of just really being held by her when I work with this deck. So the Isis Oracle, you guys know the Isis Oracle and the Tarot of Vampyres makes my list all the time. But I wanted to talk about her first because I do think that this deck helps us to understand who we are, how we've perhaps arrived at the place that we're at, and how we can be empowered in understanding ourselves and moving forward on our paths. So this deck just only gets sweeter with time, and I really have been using it a lot lately personally, and it's one that I can't live without, as you guys know. So the Isis Oracle has been huge for me over the last couple weeks, and I intend to keep working with the deck in August. August is really the start of autumn for me. I just can't wait any longer. The goth in me just needs to start getting all my Halloween stuff out and decorating accordingly and just really being in that zone. So the rest of the decks are, for the most part, darker themed, moody, romantic kind of decks that really work well for that feel. But if you're not in that place in August, then you may choose to, play with some of these decks if you're looking at this list as a jumping off point for yourself. You may choose to play with some of these decks in the month of September and October instead. The Dark Mirror Oracle, or the Black Mirror Oracle. I always call it the wrong name. Someone will help me and put the the right term for this one on the bottom in the comments section. Excuse me. I have really been enjoying working with this deck in a different way. So once I kind of let go of maybe a preconceived notion I had about how I was going to work with this deck, and I really just allowed myself to work with it more from a space of intuition and clarification for the shadow side for clients or myself in any given reading. Once I really just allowed this deck to be that and to read with it more intuitively than straight up strictly by the guidebook, I've really come to a place of enjoyment with this deck. Now, I talked about, and I believe I've done a review of this deck on the channel. If not, I need to do that. But I don't love the way that the framing is set up on the card images. I really don't. And for a while, it was a really big block for me as a reader to laying them out with my other decks that I really love, and not feeling frustrated at the visual clunkiness that I was experiencing. But once I let that piece go, I've really been enjoying what's come through with this deck. So this is the Dark Mirror Oracle or the Black Mirror Oracle. Really, really good. It's definitely a dark deck. Like, you're not going to go to a light place with it. I don't really see how you could. And it is meant to explore the shadow aspect of self. And so you'll find, if you choose to invest in that deck, or if you own that deck, that it's maybe not an everyday deck, but it definitely does have value in the deck collector's collection. I mean, it's a deck that I think you'll get use out of. So after that, the She-Wolf Tarot. This deck does contain nudity. This deck, I'm so glad. One of my lovely tarot friends encouraged me to purchase this deck, and she was so right. I love this deck. I love reading with it. I love the feel of it. It's all that 70s like Egyptian goodness, and oh, it just gets sweeter and sweeter with time. So enjoyable, so much fun. I just love it. The backings were basically made for me. I just love this deck. I can't say enough. And it really brings a sense of clarification insofar as, to me, it's a very to-the-point deck. Multifaceted, but to the point. So you're going to get a very clear answer to what you're asking. So you want to make sure that you really want that answer before you ask. I would say that when working with this deck. But it's very much a straight shooter, to the point. You don't need to spend 2 hours understanding a pull or a reading for yourself unless you want to with this deck. It's going to give that sweetness, that medicine to you right away, and it's going to let you know exactly what's going on. And then I always feel like she's kind of like, okay, now I got to go. Like, I've got a lot of stuff to do, so I got to go work. So from there, Tarot of Vampires. So often I have left this deck off of my lists because it's always number one. It's what I'm probably most known for in the pagan community, is helping people to understand how to work with Tarot of Vampires. So I feel like at this point, you all know, I'm always working with this deck. It's my number one deck. It's the deck I can't live without. But I have been using this a lot personally as a means to understand where I am on my journey, but also what's happening with my country, society, and everything that's going on with the pandemic right now, the world at large. And this deck has been very, actually, gentle and loving with myself and with the clients that it's chosen to work with over the last few months. And so it really did need to be shown on my list this month. That's Tarot of Vampires by Ian Daniels. If you purchase the deck, it's not going to look like mine. I have trimmed the borders off and edged the cards in red. As you can see, I need to redo that. This deck is also 10 years old. It's pretty well worn. So you'll have to do some TLC if you choose to purchase the deck and you want it to look like mine does. From there, the only kind of not dark deck, well, She-Wolf isn't really dark and Isis isn't really dark, but the last of my non-dark and gloomy decks is the Linestrider Tarot. This one's on the list basically because, again, it's been so gentle and nurturing, it's honest and compassionate and kind in the readings I've done for myself and others. And this deck has really become one that I work with a lot. I tend to travel with it, and it just makes my heart feel warm and fuzzy inside. The backings are beautiful, and I don't know, I just really, really have come to love and treasure the Linestrider Tarot. So that's the Linestrider Tarot. And then I have the Earthbound Oracle. I always call this Oracle deck by the wrong name. This is my favorite clarifying Oracle deck of all time because it's simple. It's straight to the point. When I'm looking to clarify a tarot card or a pull in a spread for a client, this deck is just going to make it simple and easy for me. It's like my ride or die. I can always count on it. And the artwork is interesting enough that it keeps my attention, but not so over the top as a clarifier that I get distracted from what it is that I'm looking to offer my client
understanding it towards. So this is the Earthbound Oracle. It's a self-produced and created deck, which you can purchase on Etsy. And I mean, who doesn't love that backing? Seriously, guys. So from there, the Mary L. Tarot makes my list. When I want to get down and dirty and I want to do research and I want to be a serious tarot student, this is one of my favorite decks to work with. You know, we all go through that where like we want to, you know, get our chops back and really be focused on what's going on underneath the surface with all that symbolism and with the the forefathers and foremothers of tarot, and you know, what's the history and the lineage that we're pulling on here. And sometimes if you want to get a little bit biblical too, this is a good deck to work with. So this is the Mary L. Tarot by Marie White. This is my original copy, so I don't know what the later releases look like, but I really love this deck so much. It makes me so happy. It just makes me so happy. It's all the things I love about learning and getting to know and build a relationship with a deck. This deck really wants to do that with you, and it will take you on such a profound journey if you allow it to. So this is the Mary L. Tarot. This is one of my favorite images, and I'm going to stop there on that one. That's the Knight of Wands. So Mary L. Tarot, and our final two. Guys, I've got to do a review on this as well. Someone has asked me to. This True Black Tarot is just sumptuous, and I am so in love with her. I just love her. I love and adore her. Her attitude is very much high class, but she tells it like it is. She's also seen the streets. I love this girl so much. I love reading for myself with her because, again, as you can see, a lot of the decks have been about just to the point. Tell me it like it is. Tell me what I need to know. I don't want to beat around the bush for a while. I don't want to take a long walk to get there. I want to know right now. And this deck will provide you with the answers you need. It is definitely an investment. It is worth the investment, in my opinion. It's definitely worth the investment. Just an absolutely gorgeous deck. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So that's the True Black Tarot. That's also self-produced. And our final deck, the Halloween Oracle by Stacey DeMarco. Many of you know my love and hate relationship with this deck, but as I said, it's officially autumn in this Goth's book, and so I got to pull out the Halloween Oracle and work with her and play with her. And she never disappoints from the standpoint of she's that kitschy delightfulness and really stays true to that Halloween theme. I've really been able to, much like with the Dark Mirror or the Black Mirror Oracle, let go of the guidebook and not be attached to really having been a bit disappointed in the guidebook. I've worked with some of Stacey's decks where the guidebooks have just been spot on and beautiful, and to have one that feels a little bit disappointing can be difficult, but in having released the guidebook, it's really allowed me to just enjoy connecting with the deck for what it is. So that's the Halloween Oracle by Stacey DeMarco and Jane Manton. And this is my summer favorites list for you guys. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope you find it helpful if you're looking for some inspiration in your work with tarot. It's really a great time to dig into those juicier decks if you're feeling called to, and if you have more time on your hands and to do that. It really is a wonderful time to just explore that and have fun with that. But I am sending you all so much love and so many blessings. I hope you are all doing well out there in the world. I think of you often and send you, again, much love, many blessings. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care.